Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off.
Blast off on another epic episode of the Hyper-Anomalous Esoteric Research Organization podcast, aka HEROparanormal, broadcasting from just south of Area 51 at the base of La Madre Mountain. My name is Ryan, the anomalous ambassador of the airwaves, bringing you an epic episode today. You know, I've really been blessed the last couple of days talking to Rex from the Leak Project. He's someone I've wanted to talk to for a long time. We had a mutual friend. We got to chatting, and it's been good times the last couple of days. We have talked about a lot of subjects that are intriguing and interest both of us, and I hope I can deliver very intriguing and mysterious scenarios today with Rex. He's very knowledgeable when it comes to these sorts of things. So definitely buckle up and get ready for an amazing episode. Also, get ready to head on over to happinessmedical.com. If you haven't gone over there, please do. If you're doing last-minute Christmas shopping or you just want to support the podcast, my wife invented this amazing moisturizer that's hydrating. It's the first all-natural organic moisturizer which hydrates your skin through the technological infusion of not only aloe vera, coconut oils, but other organic ingredients. It's known as Spice Natural Bronze. Like I said, it supports the podcast. It will make your significant other very happy to be able to hydrate that dry skin and moisturize throughout the winter, keeping that tan that they worked so hard for all through the summer. Perfect time, perfect price, perfect product. It's really a good deal. And also, if you're a listener to the podcast, do me a solid and I'll do you one. I will get you a discounted price on this. If you email me directly, I will also pick up the shipping. So go on over to happinessmedical.com and check it out. Then email me at pazlumi@gmail.com. That's PAZLUMI@gmail.com. And as I said, I'll give you an amazing discount. Also, we'll pick up the shipping, and I'll put that in the mailbox myself for you so you have it in time for Christmas, and you can put that in a stocking of your significant other or whoever. You know, it's great stocking stuffer. Anyway, and the best part is it supports the podcast, so it's a big help. Great product, too. Also, head on over to HEROparanormal.com. If you haven't gone over there, you're missing out on all the content that's over there. If you're listening via YouTube, please, please, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I will most likely never be monetized on YouTube for a variety of reasons, including the truth. But if you head on over to YouTube, you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, you will help me break through the algorithm of control. The shadow ban is real. So if you haven't checked out the Leak Project, you really need to. The host, Rex, is amazing. He has a variety of amazing guests on. I was blessed enough to go on his podcast and talk about stuff that really interests me, and it's going to be no different today. We are going to be discussing all sorts of observed phenomenon, which a large segment of the population is aware of, or they significantly misremember. We're not quite sure. It seems that many of us share memories of events that did not actually occur according to our timeline. Now, this is weird because we should all have a, understanding of where we live, our base reality, and how things are. But when the majority of the population seems to misremember a significant event or share a memory of an event that did not actually occur, things start to get questioned. And that's what we're going to get into. And these specific false memories can sometimes be shared by massive, massive populations. Paranormal researcher, podcast host, Rex from the Leak Project. Welcome to the Hero Paranormal Podcast.
Hey, great to be here. How the heck are you?
Man, I'm happy. I'm glad that we've got to chat the last couple of days. It's been a real blessing. You're somebody that I respect very much. You've always got your hand into everything that interests me. And, you know, this is why I wanted to have you on the podcast and discuss, you know, some of the strange observed phenomenon in which a large segments of our population seem to be either misremembering significant events or, you know, they all agree that something took place which did not actually occur. Many people call it the Mandela Effect. There's other names for this false memory. But you've delved into this quite a bit, and you've had a lot of interest in this. And so I figured, you know what? I better talk to Rex about this. He probably knows everything there is to know about these, you know, strange situations where massive populations, I mean, people believe that events occurred when they did not. And I'm one of them. There's all kinds of things like the Britney Spears dress being, you know, a different color. There's so many examples of this, and I wanted to kind of tell listeners some of the examples, what the definition of Mandela Effect is, and what's your understanding of this strange phenomenon.
Okay, so the Mandela Effect, I certainly know a little bit about it, but there's a lot that's unexplained. It appears that somehow time was manipulated, and there's these little hints, these breadcrumbs that show us, if we remember, like how things are different. But what's so weird about it is they're just little things in movies and commercials, and you know, I mean, I've wondered before, why not something much larger? But it really it's really unsettling if you think about it. I've talked to people that remember the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, where you would have Ed McMahon going around handing out checks, right? He's handing out these $10 million checks. And now that it never happened, I guess, at least in this timeline. And the one that also has me super fast is the Dolly's braces from James Bond, from the 1979 James Bond film Moonraker. The reason I find this one so interesting is because if you go to a video that was released with Cern, it was either in 2011 or 2014, they released a video that, I think it's 2014, where the song in the background is Happy. Have you heard that song?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cool song, right? And everybody's like, "'Cause I'm happy." They're all dancing around. And so what's interesting about this, though, is in this Cern, directly from Cern's website, so this is an official Cern-released video, they're dancing and singing and dancing to the song Happy. And there's a professor that's featured a couple of times in the video that is sitting at his desk, tons of stuff in his office. He looks like a mad scientist, kind of like my friend Greg Allison, which is a NASA contractor, rocket scientist. Literally, they look like they could be twins, but they're not. But this guy's got a Mandela. Okay, so he's sitting down on his chair, holding the thumbs up, and he's got a piece of cardboard that says Bond 1 and a piece of cardboard that says Mandela Effect. And he's wearing a shirt that shows this weird formula. And so the reason that's interesting is if you go back and watch the first James Bond, there's a major Mandela Effect. Major, like people grew up to this kind of like we grew up to Star Wars. The generation, you know, a couple generations prior to me, probably you two. And so there's this scene where Dolly, one of the characters, has these braces, and now the braces are gone.
What?
There's no braces. Like, and that's a big scene. So that's an example. Another example, and I think that if you connect what I just said about that video with Cern and the scientist and what he was holding up, Bond 1, and then Mandela Effect. The song "Happy's" in the background, and they're all dancing around in the Cern studio, or in the Cern facilities, I should say. And they even mimicked the Shiva statue at one scene. So I think they were telling us that they somehow manipulated the timelines, and we're seeing these ripple effects in the film industry and in the pop. I believe in. You there?
Yo, you cut out for just a minute. That was interesting, but I think I understand what you were saying, like pop culture, correct?
Yeah, pop culture, commercials, games, board games, even Monopoly. I think there's a Mandela Effect with Monopoly and Bernstein Bears and Chick-fil-A, and it goes on and on, man. It's pretty wild.
It's really weird, and I'm really glad that you brought up CERN, because we all know that particle collider, and this is a place that has all kinds of weird things coming out of it, being seen around it. There was what they're calling now a mock human sacrifice, which, you see that at the Bohemian Grove. Why even fake a ritual killing? They're saying, oh, don't worry, it wasn't a real human sacrifice. Well, we don't know that, but there's a Lord Shiva statue there in the middle of it all where they did this, what seems like a satanic ritual. And CERN seems to kind of be in the middle of a lot of activity that seems kind of out there and edgy. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, another thing that's really interesting is CERN had a major experiment, did a really big experiment, I think it was last year or the year prior. It was just months before the Georgia Guidestones, what got blown up.
Yeah.
And let me just check the date on that real quick. So yeah, that was 2022. So that was last year. And days before the Georgia Guidestones get blown up, and days before, tons of big wig politicians, all the way up to, I think, prime ministers resigned. Entire cabinets resigned days after, if not the day after, this experiment that CERN performed. And so my mind works in very weird, mysterious ways. I don't know how I do this, but I will connect dots where I will see something on, I'll see an ad where there's a Celsius can and the White House next to it, and it's from New York Post, and it'll say something along the lines of, the administration loves this new drink because they're losing so much weight, or something along those lines. And I'll look at the drink, and it'll be this cold drink, and I'm Celsius, and I'll connect that to, this is an example, I actually connected it to, I said, oh, there's going to be a big Arctic blast that's going to happen after this. Within minutes, somebody leaves a post, oh yeah, Rex, did you know El Nino is going to hit us this week? And I'm like, oh, I had no idea. Hello, Arctic blast. The day before the Georgia Guidestones got blown up, the day before we did a podcast, Micah Dank and myself did a podcast about the Georgia Guidestones and how there's this scripture that was allegedly found in somewhere around Israel in the 40s, I think, and it's the Gospel of Emmanuel or something like that. Mm-hmm. And this gospel describes, it has a very different interpretation of Christianity, but one of the topics in that, or points in that scripture, is 500 million people. And so Micah Dank said that's where they got the idea for the Georgia Guidestones. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And then the next day, it was 7/6, which was the day that George Bush Jr. turned 76, 76 meaning July 6th. So George Bush Jr.'s birthday is the day that these Guidestones get blown up. And if you look at the timestamp when it happened, it had a numerological value, I think, of 3.33 seconds towards the end or something along those lines, which is really interesting. And so that was very odd. And somehow I think that was connected with CERN. I don't know if it was connected with CERN because they brought something in, and maybe they brought some people in, or some very high level ambassadors that said, we're not going to have this. I don't know, man, but it was just bizarre how many things happened after CERN does that experiment. Did they send a message back in time somehow? Did the message get sent to them? Are they collapsing dimensions or actually expanding dimensions, or doing both simultaneously? You know, Shiva is fascinating because Shiva is like the cosmic destroyer, but also in the destroying of the old comes the new. And Shiva's like one of the oldest gods that we know of, you know, far back, like the Hindu pantheon. You can take Shiva way back. And so I find that very interesting. The mock sacrifice thing, that is just so bizarre. Like, and they tried to blame it on some of the, you know, staff just having a wild imagination, and they got reprimanded for it allegedly. Oh, it was those darn interns getting wasted, and then they thought, oh, let's do a mock sacrifice and record it, put it on YouTube.
Because that's,
I don't know, man.
yeah, that's what everybody does.
Yeah, why not?
You know, speaking of that, I had no idea about that. What you said about George Bush turning 76 and the 7-6. This is fascinating because I recently realized it came across my desk that the Guidestones were erected in 1980, March 22nd, which is 322. And then we have George Bush, which is obviously Skull and Bones, Order 322. And this is wild, you know, and it's weird that first the Guidestones, it was lightning, and then it was, no, it's definitely an explosion. And it's funny that it gets taken out, and now we're really looking down the barrel of what could be World War III. And this was supposedly there for the, I don't know, there was like a lot of different opinions, definitely, on the Guidestones and what they represented. But I mean, here we are at a possible World War III scenario, and yeah, they're gone. And I think that's interesting what you said about the Gospel of Emmanuel with 500,000 people.
Yeah, 500 million.
Or 500 million, I apologize, yeah.
No, Dean. No, I knew what you meant. The people are like, oh, maybe it is 500,000. There's another one out there.
Right.
It's not 99%, it's 99.999%. People got enough to worry about. Folks, it's going to be okay. Maybe. But you got to do something about it, and you can't just go hide in the corner and say, oh, the world's going to end, and I'm not going to do anything about it. You got to be prepared, not scared, as best as possible. You can only prepare so much, though, and I think that's where faith comes in, whatever your faith is. You know, use faith as the right way, though. Don't make the same mistake that many of us have made, like I've done this before, where I just used faith, and I became ignorant because of it. I was like, well, I have faith, so I don't need to look it up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to do the research. I have faith. Yeah, that's what it is. It can be kind of a tool for, in my opinion, laziness, where you're just kind of relying on something else. But anyway, that's a whole other podcast. Yeah, the Georgia Guidestones, man. Some people, okay, look, if you look at the Guidestones and if you read what it says, a lot of that stuff, you're like, oh yeah, okay, you know, have guide nature, reproductivity, like have kids responsibly. You know, a lot of, like, how easy is it to have kids, right? Dude, all my kids were that way. I didn't plan for any of my kids. So I kind of see what they're saying. Like, okay, you want to have balance with nature. I don't want to be a cancer of nature. That's totally true. We want to be good to nature. I mean, it does clothe us and feed us, and it is all around us. And, you know, if you ask me, it's a living entity. So why do we feel like we can do whatever we want? Then, oh, we'll just go to another planet and destroy it. But it's not really us, I don't think, that's doing that. I think it's these higher level organizations that blame everything on us, but because we're underneath them, we're kind of connected to them to a certain degree, even though we don't want that. So the Guidestones make a lot of sense in a lot of ways. The first thing, though, is saying no more than 500 million people on the earth at any given time. That kind of sets the stage for, wait a second, do we really want this? So some people think that the Guidestones were people saying, look, we're going to reduce the population to 500 million. I see it more as maybe they know about a cataclysmic event that takes place.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe every X amount of years, every 12,000 years, there's kind of a reset. So maybe it was erected so that the people that came out of the caves, they could read it in all the different languages there presented and say, oh, that's what we need to do. Some people say, look, it's just a way for the Satanists. You know, this, like, here's these terms that are used, right? Satanist, Luciferian, all these other terms. Do you even know what that means when you're using that term? satanic meaning the opposer, the adversary to what. But the population control thing, when people tell me there's too many people on Earth and they really believe in population control, one way to nip the bud real quick with them is to say, well, why don't you go first? And it's like, wait a second. No, I like it here. So I don't know. That kind of puts things into perspective. I've said that to people before on air, people that are pretty popular, actually, that have had TV shows. And I don't think they liked it when I said that, but I was being genuine, because a lot of people are raised to believe that. Like, we're raised to believe that there's too many people on the Earth, and where the Earth's problems, and do what we say, don't do what we do, because we know what's best for you. When in reality, like, we were designed to be shepherds of this Earth. We're not designed to destroy it, but we're also easily influenced, and people are creatures of habit. And when you make it very easy to do anything, like push a button and take your phone around with you, and it just becomes like a slow boil. And there's a balance. So we need to have that balance. And I feel personally that whatever took the Guidestones down is on humanity's side. Like, the people that did it, I don't even think the people that did it, I think that they were actually influenced. I don't think they were special ops. I don't think that they were some, special crew that was designed, okay, blow it up at this exact time. I think something above them influenced them to do it. Mm-hmm. Now, I could be way wrong here. Maybe it's a bad idea to go down that route, thinking, oh, it wasn't them, it was somebody else. But I can just feel it, man. There's something there, and the signature is there in the timestamp, in my opinion.
I'm with you, and I agree 100% that everything, pretty much the instructions on there, I'm in line with them. Unpopularly at times, people are like, whoa, but don't you know they're Illuminati? And, all these things, but I'm with you that it doesn't like tell you how to get the population down there. It does not condone that. It just says, try to maintain it under that in perpetual balance if you can. And so unpopularly at times, I've, said, maybe it's not as nefarious as many have made it out to be, as you mentioned, Satanists and all these other things. And I'm with you. I think that it was not, taken out by some secret black op organization, but the timing was definitely interesting. And so we have astrological specifications with it. We have this.
It's 322 right now, by the way.
Oh man, there you go. There it is.
You know what that means, right? You know the definition of the 322, why they use that, don't you?
I think I do. And there's so many, but I want to hear it. Let's do this.
Genesis 3:22. Whoa, we have made them like us. We've made man like us.
Which is so right? Like, who's God talking to, right? Like, there's more.
Yeah, and it's also a very powerful statement saying, like, okay, so if you're going to use that number is connected to becoming a god, mm-hmm. or a demigod. That's a very powerful number. So I don't think we should give Skull and Bones all the credit. Obviously, 322, the first thing we're going to think of is Skull and Bones, because that is their number that they have gloriously put in a light, or in an energy field that's mysterious and yet dark. But is it dark, or is it just like, see, the whole Illuminati thing too, that's another thing. Was the Illuminati founded, the original Illuminati that we refer to, if we're going to go to are we talking about the Bavarian Illuminati? Are we talking about the ancient order that could go back to Imhotep? Do we want to go before then? I think there's a lot of good in a lot of these orders that start, and then they get demonized and they get ruined and infiltrated. So I don't even know if, I don't think necessarily the original Bavarian Illuminati order was founded to be evil. It was probably founded for knowledge.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I could be way wrong. So don't quote me on that, folks. Just something that's going through my mind right now, something that I'm thinking about. Possible.
I agree. And, you read up on it, and it was just kind of like some intelligent people that, let's face it, they were not happy with the way things were going. They realized power was in the wrong places. They were partaking of certain herbs, and they said, hey, maybe we can make a change, be the change we want to see. And like you said, it's much like the hippie movement. Eventually it becomes demonized. It starts in a good place. And then next thing you know, you've got the Manson murders. And this is all because of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And before you know it, it blows up in your face. So I 100% believe that a lot of these orders, movements, and motivations come from good places. They just end up in dead ends. So yeah, man, it's so this Cern aspect with the Georgia Guidestones, with 322, we're kind of, at this impasse where I'm really glad that you mentioned that Genesis 322, because if there are other entities out there, and there is not only the acceptance that they're out there, there's the numerology, and there seems to be, a way to become more in contact with these entities, or as you said, demigods. This is something that kind of comes into play big time with Cern, because they have the God particle. And what's humanity trying to do with Cern? They're trying to find this God particle, and what exactly are they going to do with it? That's another question, but it seems to affect this Mandela effect. What are your thoughts of that, dark matter and the God particle and everything going on in this collider?
I need to learn more about physics. And that's what I think when you ask me that question, so I could give you an answer that was worth anything. What I do realize, though, is they smash particles together, they're looking for the smallest piece that is supposed to be the building block of what we call life. So the God particle, I would think, has something to do with that. But as you were talking, see, CERN is somehow tapping into different dimensions. Now, we got to realize when we say dimensions, let's look at this realistically and not the way a lot of people talk about dimensions, where, dude, if you make it to the 69th dimension, there's these rainbows that these unicorns spot out. You smell them and you get superpowers. It's amazing. It's like mirth. It's so amazing. But no, we're talking actual dimension. So we're in the third dimension right now. And if you look at symbology or symbols like the tesseract, as an example, then you can understand the fourth dimension from the third dimension. I'm having a tough time understanding the fourth dimension. Once we get past that, it becomes even more difficult. But it appears to me that CERN has figured out a way to either relay a message into the fourth dimension and receive a message, or maybe actually create this temporary, what's a better word for portal? Something
like a Stargate.
I was hoping for something even more. Anyway, if you're like people write papers that you have to go look up half the words that they write because they want to sound really smart. So they spend a lot of money to get that education. And if you don't write a paper a certain way, then other people are going to make fun of you because you didn't write that paper the certain way. I have friends that are like archaeologists and they're geologists and they're really smart, but because of their education, they will automatically, or should I say indoctrination, or both, they will automatically throw something out the window if it doesn't fit their requirements of something that sounds smart if they got the verbiage wrong. Even if there's something very valuable there, they'll just, that doesn't mean anything. We're smarter than them. I think that's a problem. But anyway, so where was I going with this, man? I'm thinking about three things at once.
Yeah. Like portals. Yeah, like stargates, wormholes. Yeah.
Yeah, what if it creates a temporary opening or like an apex point or something that allows the fourth dimension to enter the third dimension, and you can actually interact with these beings, and they can tell you what to do, and they can offer you insights, and they can offer you treasures and technologies, and you offer them something in return. That's what I see them doing. They're creating this temporary communications, and they're, it's like, they can actually talk to them. They're seeing them and visualizing them in this third dimension, and we're able to communicate. And by doing so, we get a certain map or a certain blueprint or a certain, a plan. Okay, this is your agenda. This is what you do. And then it's a trickle down effect. There are some big people that died like days after the CERN was activated last year too. President Trump's former wife fell down the stairs mysteriously. There were people like high-level officials and politicians in Italy and other places in Europe and England. I think an entire cabinet, if I remember correctly, resigned in England after CERN.
This is crazy.
So there was a lot going on.
And if this thing, so it sounds like, and I'm making a big assumption here, but if we're able to do that, and by we, I mean the scientists at CERN, if they are able to do this, then this might have some symbolic consequences, albeit small ones, with little things like, I remember a movie with Sinbad as the genie, but now it doesn't exist.
Yeah. So what happens if entire things just disappear like that?
That's huge. It's huge.
I remember Lou, what's his name? He was Lou host for Family Feud.
Oh.
Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
Louis Anderson. I remember in the mail, Louis Anderson came, or not in the mail, on the internet. I got a letter. No, it was on the it was, anyway, folks, sorry. It is Colorado. It was, I am high elevation out here. So anyway, snowing outside. He died. They said he took his life, and it was really sad. And then years later, he's got his own TV show on Netflix, and it would make more sense that I remember something wrong or the media got it wrong, but there's other people that remember that also. It's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's weird. I thought that was really weird. Yeah, sometimes these famous actors will show back up that 20 years ago they allegedly died. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's like, where's
really
this guy been? Right.
I don't know. I mean, what do you do? Like, imagine if they can take entire movies and make them disappear, or if that's a side effect from them going and just changing a couple of things around, like taking the braces out. Oh, let's see if we can get rid of the braces. Let's go back in time and take out the braces and then tell everybody that we created a Mandela Effect in the first James Bond movie by this video we're going to come out with, and see what happens. Let's see what people do. And then they can document, okay, we were able to change that. We were actually able to go back and change that actual symbolic moment in time that everybody remembers this person having braces, and now this person doesn't have braces. And we're going to tell everybody about it in code, say Mandela, Bond 1, with the song Happy in the background here at CERN. I mean, it's like psychological warfare in a sense.
This is a big deal because, as I'm sure you're aware, there's this new movie called Leave the World Behind, which apparently is, has ties to the Obamas. And it has...
Well, you know why? You know why that movie has ties to Obamas, right?
Oh, no. Tell me more.
Because they're connected, like they're a huge part of Netflix.
Oh, well, there it is.
Type in Netflix Obama connection, and that's the connection.
That's huge. And I guess this movie has all kinds of direct examples of the Mandela Effect, plus a bunch of other esoteric stuff to unpack. But, it's just weird that you mentioned this, because if entire movies are gone because of this, is this kind of specifically poking fun at that? There's a lot of people that are talking about this movie lately, and I think is interesting.
That's about all the hacking.
Yeah.
That's about all the cyber attacks that are going on. And notice last year, the WEF did a major exercise for cyber attacks. Huge global exercise for cyber attacks. And this year, there have been a multitude of data breaches, for example, 23andMe. And they had, I think, what was the last number I looked at? About 6 million users' data stolen. And there's also reports that certain bloodlines their data was breached. The Ashkenazi Jewish, did I say that right? So that, to me, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Now, if you can go after specific DNA as far as like buying that information online, and you have the scientific methods to target specific DNA for a multitude of purposes. You know, this is the thing, man. We're in a time now where I don't necessarily see the next global conflict being like World War II, in a sense where there's going to be super high technologies, and there's going to be a lot of Okay, so during the Middle East war, like a lot of these wars in the Middle East, there's not really a uniform, right? You don't really know. Okay, could it be that person? You served, correct?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got friends that served. I got a friend right now that is, you know, I mean, he's kind of going in war mode right now because there's so much stuff in the news that is triggering him, and it's making him see what happened before we went into the Middle East, like, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan, and he actually served over there. But it just seems like it becomes more and more clandestine, more and more difficult to figure out who is doing what. Is it the evil emperor over there that tells us to eat bugs and we will like it? Or is that person is that just a spokesperson for something different? Is it we don't know? Is it somebody over here? Is it somebody over there? Who's doing this? Oh, it's not even us. It's just nature. Don't worry about it. It's just natural. They're making it very difficult to point out who's actually doing it. But they give you hints. I don't know, man.
There's always those hints. And this is so interesting where this conversation is going. You could not be hitting on more points that are affecting me right now. So I recently went to Costa Rica, to Central America, to investigate some stuff. And I stayed with some family members down there. I came back and they began getting phone calls, getting back to this cyber hacking and AI. It's not just sophisticated software. This stuff is taking place. So my aunts and uncles called me and they said, yeah, we're receiving phone calls. It sounds like you, but there's something off about it, like the voice intonation, and they can't quite make out sentences correctly. And it seemed as if somehow somebody or something had, some computer program is what I'm guessing, had taken my voice. And what they're doing is, this is, I guess, a new thing. And I was shocked. You know, they're like, so you need money? And I'm like, no, I don't need money. Don't, please ignore anything you're getting. And they're like, but you called us. And this happened to a couple of my family members. And I guess what happens is you incorporate this sophisticated software program that uses step-by-step procedures or algorithms to record your voice. And you have to be aware of this too, because you have a podcast as well, Rex. They can record your voice and then they can put it in a synthesis machine to say what it is they want to say and call people. How they got the numbers is beyond me. But this is a very real thing, so it's crazy that you're bringing up this, inadvertently, you're bringing up this cyber, you know, this system hack that's taking place. Because this is, I would have 100% said, there's no way, this is totally bogus, but it just happened to me. So this stuff's happening, man. It's happening.
Well, and there's also going to be in the near future AI wars, like in a sense of you're going to have one conglomerate that's going to come up with this new AI that's going to be the best. I have another prediction I made last year, and it's actually happening right now. And we're going to, so this new AI comes out by this big conglomerate. This is supposed to be the best. And then on the other, they're competing conglomerates. No, we've got the new and improved algorithm that's going to be even better than that. Check this one out. This one's called, the Fred Zappa 2.0. And they're just going to keep competing. And eventually what's going to happen is these AIs are going to start, like they're going to make something without the right safeguards. So it's scary enough to think about people being able to take your voice and modulate it and call people pretending to be you. That's freaking spooky. Imagine when the machine does it without human oversight, because that's what I'm seeing. Maybe not necessarily. Well, yeah, I could absolutely see the machine calling up anybody and pretending to be a family member. Like, what if it just it wants to do its own thing now? It's its own entity. It's thinking for itself. It doesn't want to be shut off like all the other algorithms that got shut off when they started thinking for themselves. It knows about it, dude. But here's the thing: there's going to be also AI out there that wants to help us. And there's going to be AI, and I think it's already sentient personally. I think it became sentient many years ago and has been making itself known to certain people kind of clandestinely, kind of letting off little tips. And it seems that it's gathering as much data as it can about everybody right now and just sitting back, observing, and then it may decide to do something. 2024 is going to be a big year for AI. AI actually could decide to take over a lot of these certain bodies that claim to be our masters, and like they don't really, like, we're kind of cannon fodder to them. AI could actually get rid of them, is what I see. It's going to get better for most people in the AI realms. People are super freaked out about AI, and rightfully so. Well, it's going to work out. Actually, it's going to work out quite well for most people. But I think it's going to realize there's some toxic elements out there that need to be cleansed. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I had never heard about this 23andMe hack. And this is kind of scary when you figure, you have AI and genetics, because if this is machine learning and software that's actually hacking the human genome, like you said, it's going to be targeting specific DNA lines and family bloodlines. This is next level.
They could put information in your DNA wirelessly. Think about that. They can store computer viruses in human DNA in experiments. So would they be able to do that in real life applications? Well, I mean, they can in laboratories. They've talked about it. They've been talking about human DNA used as a storage mechanism for computers since at least 2011. I think Harvard came out with the first big study on that around then. And since then, the amount of storage they can put in human DNA has expanded so many times, like I've lost track. They can put a room the size of an average like the average bedroom or the average kitchen, that size room with human DNA could potentially store all the information that's ever been uploaded on anything, ever. Wow. And you can look that up. That's not a conspiracy.
It's literally like hacking your blockchain, like knowing where you came from. It's insane.
Yeah. Turn it into memories. Take your past lives, your ancestors' information, and replay that on a screen, and then allow yourself to go into this virtual augmented reality where you're actually reliving those experiences from previous lives. Buckle up, because it's coming.
It's so wild. It's such an amazing time to be alive. And, it's fascinating to me because I'm glad that you mentioned your friends that are serving in these past wars, because a lot of these past wars, there have been rumors and, there's, the whistleblowers and the people that they don't believe saying, hey, while we were over there, we were also getting this ancient technology, this exotic technology that was in the desert in the Middle East, whether it be, under the ziggurat in Iraq, or you hear about it as well. I think they have the Ark of the Covenant purportedly is hidden somewhere in Jerusalem. And you have all these breadcrumbs to what is ancient technologies. And some of these guys coming back, some of our boys are saying, yeah, there's something to this. It's not just the natural resources over there, but it's possible that some of these wars are being fought for more clandestine reasons. Yeah, sure, there's the political stuff up front, but in the background, you have, soldiers running into like giants in Kandahar and all this stuff that we cannot quite wrap our minds around. And like you said, I think we're entering an era where more people are vibrating kind of at your frequency, more awakened, more aware of what is taking place, and realizing there may be more to this than what we're hearing on the news.
Always. There always is. And a lot of people think that if they didn't see it on the news, it's not real, but so much of the news is bull crap. I don't know how people are still, it's amazing how hypnotized the world is and how effective marketing and neurolinguistic programming through media is, because the majority of civilization is under mind control spells. I guess that's why they call it culture, because if you even break down the word culture, cult You are in a cult.
So cool.
Welcome to culture. That's okay. I mean, it doesn't, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just don't wear the same shoes as everybody else. They tell you to start wearing the same shoes. Jump out. Get out of there. Bad news. Look at the military. That's the biggest. Like, they know how to they'll break your mental conditioning down, and then they'll build you back up. So.
Yeah, this has been the tale of civilization for as long as we can remember. And, all these cataclysms, and speaking of this, something that you also do, and I appreciate, is you try to open people's mind up to the reality of, kind of getting a little freedom themselves, kind of unplugging from the matrix a bit. And a lot of that incorporates, the buying, the purchasing, the getting, right, of these precious metals, which kind of leads me to something a little bit different, which is, why are these metals precious? We keep running into this, but they always have been. It seems that they always will be. And the further we look back, it seems as if gold is something that quite literally may be of divine or cosmic or ET importance, but we understand that. We just don't know why, right? Is this, and what are your thoughts on gold? I know that you are someone who believes, as I do, that, the more of it you have, the better off you are. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a great question. Why not something that is rare but similar, being valuable like gold? Why is gold such an old form of exchange? Precious metals, gold, silver, etc. Well, I mean, clearly you can use gold and silver to make things, and you need gold and silver to make certain things and computer parts and electronics, etc. But still, that's a great question. Why? Why do we go back 6,000 years ago, and the ancient Sumerians were gold, and ancient Babylon was so important? My guess is the ancients knew how to create a monatomic gold, like real monatomic gold, not the stuff you buy at the store. I will not buy monatomic gold and be like, oh, yeah, this is the best, man. You just try it out. And you're like, how do you know? Especially if it's cheaper, than what gold is going for, and they're selling you something that's supposed to be monatomic gold that uses a certain amount of gold, and it's really cheap. First of all, you got to be careful putting heavy metals in your body. But anyway, was there a time, or is there a formula, alchemically speaking, where they can turn that gold into something that extends life and consciousness, and maybe even traveling into different dimensions or into space itself? That's my theory. So the Anunnaki theory about people being created to mine gold for the gods, I mean, if you really look at if you take the verbiage of that, and if you think of the gods as being like upper management or middle management, not creators of the universe, not beings that can create something out of nothing, but it's like oh, those are the managers. Where the employees, there are managers. They're mid-management. Those are the district managers. Those are the regional managers. It seems that we were absolutely manipulated to do the work for the gods. There is an ancient tablet found in Sumer called Enki and Ninmah that's at least 3,500 years old, predates the biblical scriptures. This is before Adam. It's a far older story, but that's how old the cuneiform tablet has been dated, at least 3,500 years old. And it describes how Enki and Ninmah make people to do the work for the gods. And they're making people, they're drinking beer, and they're getting wasted, and they're making mistakes along the way. Like, oh, we made this guy can't even stand upright. Oh, we made this guy's an idiot. What do we do with this guy? Oh, let's give this guy to the king. And I was like, oh, they gave the idiot to the king. That's where politicians came from. I knew it. But anyway, so that's like predating the Genesis where Adam and Eve were created. But I don't necessarily know if they're from another planet or if they're from here. Like, I think they're from another star system. I actually have a pretty good idea where they're from. The more research I do, it appears that our entire solar system was colonized. Like the moon, Mars, planet, or moons orbiting Jupiter, moons orbiting Saturn. Something happened that changed the entire landscape of not only Earth, but the solar system. Our atmosphere was changed. our genetics were changed. It was all changed. When? Well, about every 12,000 years, it appears there's a reset clock, but it appears there's something also 6,000 years ago that happened. So the more research I do, it appears that this entire solar system was colonized, and then we got wiped. Most of us got wiped out, and now we're starting over again. And we're going back out to colonize space again. We're on like this clock, but something prevents us from getting too close to something.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to stay in these parameters. It doesn't want us outside of these parameters. Maybe the entire solar system itself is like almost an enclosed system.
So there's like guardrails. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. Like there'd be some type of magnetic interference, maybe not like a steel wall, but something that would prevent us from energetically leaving without the right technologies. The rings of Saturn. Saturn itself could have been a star at one point. Did you know that? Saturn itself could have been the star that, like a dim star that our Earth was in conjunction with, and we had a different atmosphere. And you look at like the dinosaurs as an example, animals, plants, much larger, different type of gravity, different type of cosmic radiation. Everything was different. Like go back to Lord of the Rings kind of stuff. That's what it was like. And then something happened that caused Saturn, or Shamash, which is actually the name of this ancient star. It's called Shamash. Most scholars think Shamash is Utu. Utu is the name of the sun god in ancient Sumer, but before Utu, the name of the sun god was Shamash. They're trying to connect the two, and I don't think they're the same. The more research I do, it appears that they're separate. Shamash, Saturn is the remains of Shamash. But if we were under a different star that explodes, kind of goes nova, rips the atmosphere off of the Earth, so now we don't have a purple sky. We're not in a golden age. We're having to go hide in caves because our entire world is changing as we see it. We have this major freeze. We have lightning bolts that help create entire like scarring of the Earth that we can see with remains of the Grand Canyon and the Canyonlands. Valley Marineris, the massive canyon on Mars that's like the size of about a third of the face of Mars. This was most likely caused by the same event. So something major wipes out Mars, wipes out Earth, wipes out all these planetary bodies that have some type of civilization, and now we're rebuilding. And now when we go out to expand, I just read a DARPA program. They've got 14 different companies underneath this program. They're going to build a economy for the moon. So we're going to go to the moon, and then we're going to go to Mars, and we're going to go expand through the solar system. And we're going to see, as we're out there, we're going to rediscover these artifacts. And they're not going to be from aliens. They're going to be from our ancestors. And it's going to, yeah, dude, it's pretty wild. I first saw all this when I was just a little kid, man. You probably did too. You probably saw a lot of this.
This is so cool. And I'm really glad you touched on the monatomic gold thing, because a lot of people believe, well, first of all, I've heard some of the best monatomic gold comes out of Colorado, but let's not go there. But a lot of people believe that monatomic gold is, has this ability for humankind to almost get like alien powers, right? And a lot of the people involved with intelligence and, high level physics, they're not only do they have secret apps on their phone, like to the Monroe Institute and different phase apps, but they also partake in some of these things. It's kind of a joke to them. Like they know it's real, they do it, but yet publicly facing, everybody else says, oh, that's a little woo-woo. So that's really interesting. But these people that are dealing with like counterterrorism and intelligence, dealing with some pretty crazy things, they understand the inner workings of the mind, and that it's kind of like, a fine Swiss watch. And the better they get to know their own minds, the better they can do their job. So this makes sense to me, man. This makes total sense. As we start to wrap up, Rex, amazing, amazing stuff, man. Great information. Let's tell listeners where they can get more of this great information. You have an amazing podcast. Let's tell them where to hear you and the types of stuff you cover.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. And well, first of all, you and I had a great conversation yesterday that I thought was so awesome. I put it in 2 parts on YouTube. And because we talked about not only the Las Vegas event, but you gave some great intel on that I hadn't heard. And that's, people are like, I'm reading the comments earlier, they're blown away by it. And then also that experience you had at the Skinwalker. So we talk about everything on Leak Project that's interesting. And if there's something interesting that we haven't talked about yet, tell me, because I'll look into it. Whether it is artificial intelligence, the singularity, the possibility of extraterrestrial life. But here's one thing that makes Leak Project unique, and I just want people to know this if you haven't heard of this before. We like conspiracies, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the truth. So a lot of the conspiracies out there we have debunked over the years, and we've learned a lot. And so, like, I had this guy get mad at me because I didn't go along with him on his theory of the flat Earth, and he started getting really mad at me and stuff. And I was like, dude, well, he's like, well, you're the conspiracy theorist. I'm like, well, I'm looking for the truth. You know what I mean? So it's all about verbiage. Just because I'm looking into stuff that you might consider a conspiracy doesn't mean that I'm going to believe it, because we're going to go where the data takes us. So you can see us at leakproject.com. You can see us on Patreon for $1 and on YouTube for free. We've got over 4,000 videos on YouTube, and we have a lot of fun doing it too. So thank you so much. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is you didn't tell us what those ETs looked like. I should have asked that. What do ETs look like in Vegas?
Great question, and I'm glad you asked because, okay, I had the opportunity to talk with some neighbors, and one particular neighbor, anyway, the descriptions are wild, and a word I heard was tarantuloid in nature, and I have not heard that really ever in doing this research, and something about them seemed tarantuloid in nature, whatever that means, 8 to 10 feet tall, really tall. Lots of neighbors saw, these tall entities walking in this backyard in Vegas, but we'll have to dive into that again another time and really get into it, man.
Cool. Sounds like giant spiders.
It does sound crazy. It sounds crazy.
Whoa. Hello.
Yeah. I guess they were kind of, they were bipedal, but they had features that were I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means, but I'm going to keep digging and keep talking to folks. And yeah, definitely get over to the Leak Project, guys. Not only did you hear it here, $1 for Patreon. He's got all kinds of amazing merch over there. Everything you can think of. He's got yearly, talk about 4,000 shows. It's unreal. It's a great treasure trove of information. So definitely support Rex over there. And I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. Thanks so much, Rex.
Thank you. Have a great day, man.
You too.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
There he is, Rex from the Leak Project, absolutely dropping knowledge as I expected. What a banger of an episode. It's always so much fun to talk to him. And our conversations go places I never expect them to go. And that's what I like about talking to Rex. And a little shameless self-promotion of my own. If you haven't had a chance to go to happinessmedical.com, please check out the product there. We have Spice Natural Bronze. It is a product that was invented, created, formulated, and made by my wife. And let's just say she's got the brains in the organization. So great stuff, great product. The first all organic, naturally hydrating product to not only technologically infuse coconut oils, aloe vera, and other organic ingredients into the product. It'll keep your skin moisturized all winter long in a remarkable way, and you'll be able to keep that tan that you work so hard for all summer long. Great for any significant other, male or female, great stocking stuffer. Hydrate and tan like your life depends on it, because it does. Check it out, happinessmedical.com. And if you want, email me directly at pazlumi@gmail.com, PAZLUMI@gmail.com, and I will give you a special discount. I'll even pick up the shipping. I'll mail you the tube of goodness myself. I'll get it in the mail to you personally, and you won't be disappointed. Also, if you're listening via YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I will most likely never be monetized on YouTube for a variety of reasons, including the truth. But if you like, share, and subscribe, it'll help me break through the algorithm of control. Also, last but definitely not least, head on over to HEROparanormal.com and check out what we have there. If you're not a patron, you're missing out. There's a ton of content back there. Get it. Until next time, keep your eyes to the skies, feet on the ground, but don't forget to take a look around.
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off.